Hello and welcome to 100 Yards of Football, Sports Talk Radio. I'm your producer, Jeremiah Long, and joining me is our host, Logan Landers. How's it going, Logan?
Hey, I'm doing great, Jeremiah. How about yourself?
I'm doing really great, and you thought you were going to get out of it, but I just want to mention that Logan Landers is the host with the most, the man who brings the sports and statistics every week, and a man who will one day be known as a legendary sportscaster. So you thought you were going to get out of a great intro this morning, right?
Something like that, man. it's always something, man. I always love the intros you give me. It's a great feeling. Gives me a nice sense of confidence as well. But yeah, man, I appreciate the love, and I'm ready to talk some football.
Hey, that's what's up, man. Well, guess what? Today we are talking about Texas A&M versus Ole Miss. Ole Miss is coming off a great win, but Texas A&M is definitely the favorite. Logan, will you break down Texas A&M versus Ole Miss?
Yeah, of course, man. We got to do it. It's our world-famous slide decks, so we got to get right into it. So, as everyone knows, Texas A&M is the fifth-ranked team in the country. The Aggies are 5-1 on the season. Their only loss this year, of course, is coming against Alabama. But, I mean, look, it's always a rough go against Alabama. The Crimson Tide are one of the most dominant teams in college football. Let's just go the last 10 years, in the history of football. They're always going to be a great team. But look, that was just a tough game for the Aggies, and it's going to be a tough game for any team that faces Alabama. But going into this game, the Aggies are just outside of the college football playoff. They're 5-1, and they're right on the verge, man. They're right there of getting to it, and they could get there if another team like Clemson or someone else at the Notre Dame or et cetera, could fall off.
Yes.
But they got to keep winning. That's the main thing. They got to keep winning. So let me talk a little bit about them real quick, and I'll get over to the Gamecocks. So with Texas A&M, they got Kellen Mond as their QB, of course. He's been very, very impressive this year in my eyes. Almost close to 1,500 yards throwing, 64% completion percentage. But the thing I like about it most is the touchdown to interception ratio. 16 touchdowns on the year with only 2 interceptions, and that's coming in the SEC, and with an all-SEC schedule as well. That's even more impressive. He's going up against tough opponents week after week after week, and only being able to throw 2 picks, but with 16 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Very, very good in my eyes. But he can't do it by himself. He's got a great team around him. Isaiah Spiller, who is their running back, 643 yards on the year with 5 touchdowns as well. He's had a very solid season. But the receiving end of the ball, where Mond's thrown those 16 touchdowns, has been helping him excel as well. Leading the charge is Aeneas Smith, who's got 26 catches, 312 yards, with a total of 5 touchdowns to boot. So he's been helping out Kellen the whole season. Also right behind him is Jalen Wordmeyer, who's their tight end, 311 yards on the year, and with 4 touchdowns as well. So both those guys have been helping him out tremendously. But they've had a good defense as well. They're 5-1, and you can't have that good of a record and not have a pretty solid defense as well. And in this year, where we've seen that defense hasn't been the best, they've been pretty solid so far. With that great record and that amazing offense, it's been able to help them out with that wins. So going on the defense side of the ball, let's talk about that. Who I like in this game. Let me just tell you, man. Buddy Johnson, first off, great name. 57 tackles on the year with 2 sacks as well. He's their linebacker, and man, he's been very impressive. He's out of Dallas, Texas as well, so we also got a little bit of love that. So he's been doing good for them. So I like him in this game. I also like Aaron Hansford as well, 33 tackles on the year with also 2 sacks to boot. But the guy who's going to be a force, I think, and who's going to get to South Carolina and get to the quarterback is Michael Clemens, who's one of their D linemen. 4 sacks on the year so far. Very solid. Also, Bobby Brown III has 2.5. So both those guys are going to be coming at South Carolina left and right. So we'll have to see how they can adjust to that.
Yep.
But it's also going to be a pretty good game for them defensively, I think, just because they're going to be able to get a few turnovers. I think they're a turnover machine. I'm looking at some of the stats here, man. Just in terms of interceptions, passes defended, they are looking consistent all around. Leading the team with picks is Leon O'Neal Jr., who's their D-back, with 2 picks on the year, but there's about 4 or 5 other guys with 1 pick each who are helping out that defense and helping them get some pretty timely interceptions. So I do like them in this game. I do think that Texas A&M is going to come away with the win. But it's time to talk about South Carolina and what they can do. Man, South Carolina's they're in a rough spell right now. They lost against Ole Miss last week, 59-42. That dropped them to 2-5 on the year, and they fired their head coach Will Muschamp just last night,
That's right.
Sunday night. So they're coming in this game with a whole new perspective, whole new leadership mentality. So that's going to be very interesting to see, because sometimes we see this, Jeremiah. Sometimes a team just kind of gives up on their head coach. You don't see them playing as hard or something like that. But then you get a new assistant coming in, and they look like a completely new ball team.
Yes.
That might be how it is if you're South Carolina. We'll have to see, though. I don't believe they've named their new interim coach yet, but whoever it may be, we'll have to see. So on the year, they are 2-5. They're on a 3-game losing streak. But like I said, being in the SEC, and since they're not one of the upper echelon type of teams, it's a rough go at it. It is. Looking at their season so far, they've played a bunch of ranked teams, man. They've played Tennessee to start off the year. Then they played Florida. They got a win against Vanderbilt and a surprise win against Auburn, a lot of people might say. Then they lost against LSU, Texas A&M, and then Ole Miss last week. So we'll have to see how they're going to go with it. But, man, they got to do something. They got to get something going on here. It's going to be a rough go at it if you're South Carolina. I don't know how they can get this win. They got the new head coach, so we're going to have to see if he can kind of light a fire underneath them. You know, sometimes that's how it is. Sometimes you light that fire underneath your team. They just go on a run to end the season. So we're going to have to see. But some of the guys that I like on that South Carolina roster, I do like Colin Hill, who is their quarterback. He's thrown for 1,372 yards. He's been very good this season, 59% completion percentage.
Yes.
But I'm not a fan of his in terms of his touchdowns and interceptions. 6 touchdowns, but he's got 6 interceptions as well. So he's not doing the hottest right now. But also a big key is the offensive line has not been the best. It hasn't helped him out much. He's been sacked 20 times this year, man. It's been a rough go at it. But it's been rough. Also, I don't even know what I'm doing talking about South Carolina. I got completely sidetracked there, brother.
I was like, well, I'm sure he's got a segue that's going to bring us right back to after the Old Miss off here.
Look, man. Sometimes we get lost. Look, for all the fans out there, it's a Monday morning. I got to get the cobwebs out my head.
Just a little bonus information.
Yeah, a little bonus.
Just tie it all back in together.
See, that's what we like to do here, guys. We like to just kind of have some fun, go off the rails sometimes. We like to keep you on your toes out there in 100 yards of football nation.
That's right.
Oh, man. All right, let's get back on track here. I'm sorry about that, guys. Let me get back on track here. Let's talk about Ole Miss. I don't know why I thought South Carolina. That's just been in my head all day. But
hey, it's an important part of college football history, and it needs to be recognized given what happened with Ole Miss.
There you go. Thank you, Jeremiah, for helping back me up on this, man. All right, let's talk about Ole Miss then. 3-4 on the year. I like Matt Corral, their quarterback on the year. 2,359 yards, 74% completion percentage. He's been very good. So I do like his play. 9 interceptions and 22 touchdowns. So he's been very solid, very, very good. Kind of one of the slept-on quarterbacks in the SEC. So I do like his style of play. 12 sacks, though, which, look, you're playing against SEC. That's always going to be a tough one. Oh. But I think he can have a solid game against Texas A&M. Mm-hmm. Also, I like Jerrion Ely, who's their running back, 608 yards on the season, and 8 touchdowns to boot. So he's been – this Ole Miss team, while they don't have the best record, 3-4, they're not no slouch, but I do like their style of play. But the big key for me, I love Elijah Moore. He's one of the most slept on wide receivers, I think, in football. He's got 1,054 yards on the year, and he's been very good. 8 touchdowns as well. So he's kind of been – people are kind of starting to talk about him now as one of the better kind of receivers, going on right now in football. So I do like that recognition that he is getting. Also, another guy that's very impressive on their team is Kenny Yeboah, who is their tight end, who's got 6 touchdowns on the year with 500 yards for catching the ball. So he's been very good. This offensive side of the ball for Ole Miss is very good. I do like their style of play. But on the defense is where they really got to step up against this Texas A&M team. I do enjoy some of their players. I have seen a few of their games, but I do like Keidron Smith, who is their D-back, 47 tackles on the year. Jaquez Jones, 44, and Momo Sunogo with 41. So all those guys are going to be helping, get some tackles against this Texas A&M team. Also, Sam Williams has got to help out getting some sacks. He's leading the team with 3 on the year. And right behind him is Lakiah Henry, who's their linebacker with 2.5. But they got to get some interceptions. They got to help. They got to get some work in. They got to be able to pick the ball off. They got to be able to, just force some turnovers. And I think they might be able to get some of those. And leading the way with that is going to be A.J. Finley, who's their D-back, who's got 3 interceptions on the year with 4 passes defended. So I think that if they can, get to Texas A&M, if they can create some pressure, they might be able to break them. But overall in this game, I do think that A&M is going to get the win and improve on their record.
I definitely can see that. So, coming up and looking a little bit to the future, the Ole Miss Rebels, after they face Texas A&M this Saturday, next Saturday, they're going to be playing against Mississippi State. So Mississippi State's going to be a big rivalry game for them. And then they close their season out against LSU, which that's going to be an interesting way to close out the season after off the season they've had. When we come to the Texas A&M Aggies, they play Mississippi this Saturday. Next weekend on 11/28, they face LSU. So that's going to be a huge game. LSU is not currently ranked, which I think surprises a lot of people.
Yeah.
But so this is still going to be a huge game, no matter what this season's stats say. That's going to be a huge game. They face Auburn on December the 5th. And then you're taking it back home for me. We're going to face Tennessee on December the 12th. And Tennessee versus Texas A&M, I feel like is going to be a great game, just to watch. It may not be one of Tennessee's strongest games. It may not be one of Texas A&M's strongest games. It's there's a chance it could be an interesting game to watch. So I'm always going to be in there as a Vols fan. I'm always going to be. It's always going to be top of my ticket.
You got to support your team through and through.
Always. I'm not a fair weather fan. Ups and downs, left, rights, wins or losses. I'm all Vol. And that's something that I think we can say is tried and true about a lot of the fans of Texas A&M, Ole Miss, and a lot of the teams that we cover. They're not looking to see if this team is, going to be a big loser for the season. They're going to turn away from. They're not going to wait to see if they're a huge winner and they can jump on the bandwagon. They're just there for their team. That's the deal. Maybe they're local, maybe they're alumni. There's a lot of reasons to stay in love with your team, whether or not they're the best team this year or not. So, Logan, what's your final word on Texas A&M versus Ole Miss, not South Carolina?
Well, Texas A&M – I knew you were going to throw something in there, bro. But so Ole Miss and Texas A&M, I do think this is going to be a very solid game. One of the most I think it's going to be kind of an underrated game. This is going to be an offensive showdown, I think, personally, as we've seen a lot in college football this year. Yeah. The offensive rules. So I do think that overall, Texas A&M is going to get the win. They're going to keep getting their winning streak going up and up. Just, man, they're right on the verge. You can't get any closer than they are by cracking into that college football playoff with the 4 teams. They just got to keep winning. They got to hope someone can get a loss here pretty soon in those top 4 teams. And they could sneak in there, I think. They're a very solid team. But I'm just going to say this. If they do sneak into that college football playoff, I do think they will have that low ranking, though, in terms of who all they're going to be up against. If it's, Clemson or Alabama or Notre Dame or whoever else, they're going to be one of the lower kind of teams that a lot of people are like, man, what's Texas A&M doing in here? But we see this year's been absolutely crazy in terms of just teams who were in the top 25 even. Yeah. I mean, you've got lower, you've got Cincinnati, who's not even in a Power 5 conference, who's the number, I believe, 7 ranked team in the country. Yeah. So this year's been insane. And then also, with Ohio State, who's just kind of getting started out, we'll have to see how they're going to do as well. So maybe if Texas A&M can keep getting wins, and if some of those guys can slip, they could possibly get in there. If you're Ole Miss, their seasons, For me, I think their big key is to try and just finish out 500 or better on the year. They're 3-4, so they can still improve. They got a few games left to get above that 500 echelon, which I think they can crack it. I don't think they're going to get this win, but I do think they can get some wins over the next few weeks and maybe get 500 or better. So we'll see.
Yeah, they've got Mississippi State and Duke after that, so there's definitely some chances to finish out the year at that 500 rating.
Yeah.
Well, for everybody watching, make sure to tune in every day if you'd like. We have new shows that launch mostly on Wednesdays and on Mondays, but we have new episodes and new content that comes out pretty much every day of the week, including over on the Believe Podcast Network with our podcast, 100 Yards of Football, which we have over on Spotify, we have on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and anywhere that you listen to podcasts. So make sure that no matter what your format is, go over and look for 100 Yards of Football. And we have got episode after episode that come out every week, sometimes daily episodes, in fact, because we have so many great things going on, including interviews with legends like Chris Hinton. We have a great Basketball Today segment that we've been doing just to let people know what's going on in the world of basketball, game preview, player profiles, and more. So if you would like to listen to our podcast as much as you'd like to watch us live here on the show, then please join us over on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, and others. Well, for the whole team here at 100 Yards of Football, we'd like to say thank you for watching us. I'm Jeremiah Long, the producer, and you've been joined by Logan Landers, our host, and we've been previewing the Texas A&M Aggies versus Ole Miss, and we wish both teams the best in health and safety. And we hope that this game gets to be played so that we can see what could actually happen here in college football, because we can't see it unless you guys actually get to play your games.
Very true, man. Yeah, hopefully these games will get played. Also, shout out South Carolina. Hope they have a good win this week. So we'll see. But I am looking forward to this game. I think the Aggies will get the win, and I'm ready to watch it. Hopefully they can get it played. Fingers are crossed.
Definitely. All right, guys. Well, keep watching because we're going to be live back here in about 5 more minutes. And thanks again to the Believe Podcast Network for hosting our podcast. And we'll see you just a little bit later. See you guys.